And we're back. Welcome to my preview and predictions for the penultimate day of Matchday 2. If you want to see my predictions for today's matches in Matchday 2, you can check that out at the top of your screen right now. But we have to start today's video by talking about last night, because last night is why I really wanted this tournament to go ahead the way it has gone ahead. The champions of Europe took on the champions of South America in a game where, myself included, gave Botafogo little to no chance. I thought they would have some chance, but overall, I think everyone expected PSG to get the win. But Botafogo said absolutely no way in hell. The best side in the world absolutely outplayed by the Brazilians. Fair play to them. They went out in there, they sat out their stall, and they went, "We don't care how good you are. You are not breaking us down." And they did the job absolutely perfectly, picked their moments to go ahead, and then, of course, took their chances. And to be fair, could have ended up winning that game by even more. So fair play to Botafogo. It's blown this tournament wide open. Yet again, we mentioned it yesterday, no South American side has lost yet. I've predicted two South American sides to lose today. Let's see what happens. But honestly, fair play to Botafogo. Absolutely upsetting the odds, showing the Europeans how it's done. And like I said, it's exactly why I wanted this tournament to go ahead like this, because I like to see these teams come up against each other to prove their mettle against each other. And we'll see what happens today with the Chelsea-Flamengo game and the Bayern, I think, Boca Juniors game. Let's see what happens in those matches. I'm genuinely now even more intrigued by those because of what happened last night. Anyway, before we get into today's video, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video and sharing it with a friend if you enjoy all of my predictions series. Subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of the videos we are doing on this Club World Cup. We are doing every single day as things stand before we then obviously get to the knockout stages. And if you want to support the channel even more, you can do so by becoming a member by hitting that join button at the bottom of your screen right now. Now, as for today, since I've already been jabbering on for a while, you can see at the top of your screen, we're now 12 out of 20 after 2 out of 4 yesterday. Still no correct scores. It's coming. The correct scores are coming. I promise you. I can't promise you that. But they're coming. And what we're going to do today is, as always, go through the matches taking place tomorrow, one by one. So let's just get things started with the opening game of the day, which will be the Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa taking on Borussia Dortmund of Germany. Top of the table, Mamelodi Sundowns, I might add, after their victory over Ulsan the other day. Dortmund coming into this with a point against Fluminense, again proving the quality of the South American sides against the Europeans. Now, it must be said that the Sundowns goal against Ulsan was a little bit scrappy. It was a little bit, it was a corner, fumbling around, ball ended up in the back of the net. But for the most part, they absolutely deserved it. They didn't really look too troubled at the back. They played some good stuff. They took their chance when it came, and it got them the 3 points. For Borussia Dortmund, I think they're the sort of one team I've watched so far in this competition that just genuinely looked disinterested. And I don't want to put them down on that. I don't know if it's because they're knackered at the end of their season. I don't know. But they did not look at it one bit in that game against Fluminense at the weekend. And if it wasn't for Kerbal in goal, they would definitely be sitting here on 0 points. An outstanding performance from the Swiss keeper kept Dortmund in that game. So the question is, are they going to bounce back in this one? Or is it just going to be another weary, can't-be-arsed performance where the South African side can capitalise on it? Personally, I have to go of the perspective that on paper, Borussia Dortmund should be beating a team like Mamelodi. Let's not forget that obviously they did do okay. They had a good Champions League run last season in Africa. But obviously don't forget that Borussia Dortmund a couple of seasons ago had a very good run in the Champions League in Europe. Both of these sides are actually losing Champions League finalists in their respective continents in the last 2 seasons. So it's a bit of a weird matchup, these two going against each other. In terms of the team news, no fresh concerns for either side coming into it. Like I say, on paper, Borussia Dortmund should win this match. So I am going to go for them. I'm going to go for 1-0. But if they play like they did against Fluminense and Sundowns played like they did against Ulsan, there is more than enough of a chance that the Brazilians from South Africa can get the result in this match. But right here, right now, I think the way Dortmund defended and the way Mamelodi just sort of, like I say, scruffied their way over the line, I struggle to see them scoring. Whereas I do think with the quality that Dortmund have, they should still have enough to get the win here. I'm going 1-0 Dortmund, but we'll see. Second game of the night sees Inter Milan taking on the Urawa Red Diamonds. Did I do it any better this time? I'm going to keep trying it every time until they're eliminated. I promise. For Inter, disappointment for them. They came up against Monterrey and they came up short. A 1-1 draw on the night. I looked at the team lineups and initially I thought that perhaps they were taking Monterrey a little bit lightly, but it does turn out that the likes of Dumfries and Thuram were actually injured coming into the game. Dumfries didn't play at all. Thuram came off the bench. DiMarco as well, a little bit iffy around him. But other than that, it was pretty much their full first team, and they could not get the job done against the Monterrey side, which we will obviously talk about shortly. For the Red Diamonds, let's be honest, they were outmatched against River Plate. They did their best, but ultimately their only chance and only goal of the game came from a penalty, whereas River Plate absolutely battered them. They defensively just couldn't handle it. And now you sort of look at, again, purely on paper, the quality of the Inter Milan side should be far too strong for the quality of the Japanese side. In terms of availability, yet again, there are no fresh concerns for Inter Milan, but still those doubts over the likes of Dumfries and Thuram, etc. coming into this. No fresh concerns for the Red Diamonds off the back of their defeat to River Plate. Again, I have to go for Inter Milan to get a result here. But what's interesting is, of course, that the Red Diamonds cannot afford to not get a result in this game. Because obviously they lost their opening game. If Inter Milan win here after a draw, the likelihood is Red Diamonds will be out should they fail to get a result. So it might make the game a bit more open, but if anything, that just favours Inter Milan even more. I'm going for a 3-0 victory to the Italians. Next up, we're moving back to the group we spoke about first, and it's now time for Fluminense and Ulsan. And to be honest, I think this one is pretty much as easy to call as the last one. As we've already spoken about, if it wasn't for Kerbal, Fluminense would be sitting here on 3 points. They attacked very, very well, but it was that sort of like final bit of play where I think they were a little bit hesitant, little bit like they either didn't take the shot quickly enough or didn't play the final pass quickly enough, and that's what allowed Dortmund to get back and allowed Kerbal to make the saves that he made. Defensively, they were immaculate, absolutely immaculate. Borussia Dortmund basically offered nothing in that game because of how well Fluminense defended, and of course Thiago Silva, as always, a big part of that. For Ulsan, again, let's not forget, they did do okay against Mamelodi, but they didn't really create anything. Defensively, they were okay. And again, like I already mentioned, the goal they conceded was a scruffy one from a corner. But I guess that was still a defensive error. So I look at this game now, and I do think there is a possibility of another 0-0. Again, if Fluminense can't quite get it right in the final third, they are going to struggle to score against an Ulsan side that can be defensively solid. But on the flip side, I really don't see Ulsan putting a scratch on Fluminense in this one. Again, though, as we've just mentioned with Red Diamonds in the other group, Ulsan need to get a result in this game. Mamelodi are already on 3. Dortmund and Fluminense are already on 1. The expectation is one of the teams in the earlier game will win, so Ulsan need to get minimum 1 point, if not all 3, to keep their chances of progressing in this game, in this group, alive, so they have to go for it. Again, unbelievably, no fresh concerns for either side coming into this one, so we'll see what happens. Like I say, I do think a 0-0 is possible, but ultimately, I think Fluminense are going to take the victory here. I'm going for a 2-0 win to the Brazilians. And then finally, what I think is by far the toughest game of the day. It is River Plate taking on Monterrey. And unfortunately, once again, what I think is the biggest game of the day is the latest one. So I'm not going to be able to watch it, unfortunately. But it is River Plate and Monterrey. And look, River Plate absolutely destroyed the Red Diamonds in their opening game. We've already mentioned it. They cut them to pieces on multiple occasions. Lots of really good deliveries into the box. Some of their crossing from the wide areas was outstanding. And ultimately, it was too much for Red Diamonds. For Monterrey, they're going to be coming into this full of confidence. A 1-1 draw against Inter Milan. Literally Champions League finalists this season. They played some really good stuff in that game. And it was that man, the 39-year-old Sergio Ramos, can still produce big moments in big games against big opposition. He is still rocking and he is still flying, which is great. Because obviously just spoke about Thiago Silva as well. So great to see my favourite 2 centre-backs of this century, shall we say, still performing to their absolute maximums. And it is going to make for an interesting matchup here. Because like I say, I think River Plate's biggest asset in that opening game was their delivery from the wide areas. And with Monterrey's 3-back, 5-back, however you want to call it, it's going to be much harder for River Plate to break them down. Ultimately, I think this is just going to be an absolutely incredible game. You've got two sides that are well up for this competition. Again, the reason I wanted this competition to go ahead is so teams like this can come up against each other that believe in this competition, want to do well in this competition. This is why I'm really excited for this match. And to be honest, I look at the two teams and there really isn't much to split between them. Both sort of have a mixture of former greats of European football and future stars of world football in their teams, vying for their chances to sort of showcase themselves. And honestly, I just don't know where this one's going to go. Obviously, the prize for River Plate is massive here. A victory here, and they are through to the next round. For Monterrey, they need to be looking at this going, if we can get something from this game against River Plate, we can then go on and beat Red Diamonds to progress to the next round. It makes for a really fascinating dynamic. Again, no fresh concerns for either side. There hasn't been any concerns or suspensions in any of the teams across today's video. But for me, I look at this fixture right now, and I can't split these two. I think it's going to go all the way to the end. I think it's going to be thrilling. I think it's going to be full of drama. I think there's going to be goals for both teams. I think there's going to be moments of madness as well. But I'm going for a 2-2 draw. I almost went for a 1-1 draw. If I was going to pick a favourite, I'd probably just go for River Plate. But I can't really stand on that, given that Monterrey just drew with Inter Milan. So that's why I can't split them. I think both sides have a very good chance of getting the result in this game. Let me know what you think of these matches down in the comment section below. Another fascinating day of the Club World Cup ahead. Thank you very much for watching as always. I'll see you tomorrow.